This Sunday we're going to do things a little differently. I'm not preaching a sermon. I invited a few different speakers to come and tell us about their ministry here in town. Well, two of them in town, one of them across the world. I'll let Kyle tell you about that. In the past, we have heard about a number of ministries. I know that since I've been here, we had Brianna come up and talk about Care Portal and that ministry of serving foster families through churches. But I've asked Kendra to come up, but before, as she does as she makes her way forward, we've been talking about mission, our mission as the church for the last, I think, 6 weeks. And the Global Methodist Church says that we've adopted the mission statement that our mission is to make disciples of Jesus Christ and to spread scriptural holiness throughout or across the globe. And we've kind of adopted that in the meantime as saying that that is our mission here in Woodward. And so I'd invite you to be thinking about the mission of each of these organizations and how they are going about achieving that mission, and then to also reflect on, we know what our mission statement is, but what is the mission of this church and how are we fulfilling it? And what does it look like to make sure that everything our church does is aimed toward fulfilling that mission? And so I'm going to let Kendra talk to you. And Kendra, you can come up here and speak at the pulpit, please.
Good morning. You'll have to excuse me. I have a little bit of a sinus infection. So I'm so excited to be in front of you guys today. Circle of Care opened our Woodward office in 2016, but the United Methodists' support of Circle of Care dates back to 1917. Circle of Care originally started as the United Methodist Children's Home in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. Fast forward to 2025, we have since expanded to 7 different programs with the mission of providing Christian help, healing, and hope to children and families in crisis to ensure a safe, healthy, and spiritual future. Our 7 programs are designed to provide prevention, intervention, and restoration services to Oklahoma's most vulnerable children and families. Here in Woodward, we have a foster care program, and about 5 years ago, we also opened a counseling program to kind of help bridge the gap for multiple children who couldn't find the services that they desperately needed to maintain placement in foster homes. So across the state, there are about 5,900 children in foster care. At least 100 of them typically are waiting for a placement every single day. Woodward, we serve about 30 kids from here down to Elk City with our multiple sibling homes across the state. And a lot of that is credited to the support from this church. So I would just like to say thank you, because we would not be where we are today without your support. Sorry, my brain is a little foggy today. The mission just can't stop there, guys, because while we have these programs, while we have some wonderful foster homes, like I said, there are still children every single day that are waiting for that Christian help, healing, and hope. And at some point, we did have the separation of church and state, but we are faith-based, and we do believe that Father to the fatherless, defender of widows, is God in his holy dwelling. So it starts with you, it starts with me, and if you ever do have a feeling on your heart to say, what else can we do for the widow, for the fatherless, I'm happy to answer any questions, and thank you guys for having me.
I'm going to just add on a couple of things. So one thing she said was it initially started out as an in-house ministry of the United Methodist Church. I don't remember how long ago, but maybe 6 or 7 years ago, they actually separated from the United Methodist Church and became their own independent 501c3. And so while they continue to work with the United Methodist Church, they work with all kinds of organizations, including the Global Methodist Church and others. And in fact, Catherine and I have taken in our 4 foster children thus far through Circle of Care, and they've been incredibly supportive. One of the great things about working with a Christian agency like Circle of Care is that you're really not alone, and you feel that. Like, if you're only working with DHS and you're getting your foster kids, it can feel kind of lonely, although they offer a lot of services. But Circle of Care and Kendra and others are really great at reaching out and saying, what help do you need, and filling the gaps that many foster families feel. So they're a wonderful ministry, and they really care. They really care about their families. They care about the foster kids, and they another family that works with them is the Douglas family sitting back there, who is living in one of our kindred home, or kindred, that's not what we call it. What do we call it? Sibling, thank you. Sibling homes. We've got 2 sibling homes with the house in between for kind of common events right behind our property that our church helped build a while ago. So that's an amazing part of your history. I don't know, all of you know. But also, the Douglas family lives there with how many kids? 5 foster kids and their own biological son. Is that right? 5? And they have received great help, and they are wonderful at supporting, like I said, the foster kids, but also the family. I happen to know that they've done a good job running defense for parents taking in kids when they feel like DHS isn't treating the family very well who's taking in the kids. They're wonderful at making sure that everyone is being taken care of. So with that said, I do want to, you'll actually see their names in the notes section on your bulletin. I was hoping you might take some notes or see what God is saying to you while we're listening. But the next person I want to invite up is Sheila Gay. She is actually on the board at the pregnancy center, the Woodward Pregnancy Center, and actually our own Angie Baus is too. And so one of the wonderful things I'm really excited about is we have people in our church in all of these organizations. So Blake Tolner is on the board at Circle of Care, and then we've got Angie Baus over at the Pregnancy Center, and then Kyle Domnick is going to speak to us, and he's on the board of his organization, Field of Hope. And so, but Sheila is going to be talking to us about the Pregnancy Center today, so please.
So I'm Sheila Gay. For those of you who don't know me, I also work at the Woodward News. And I serve on the board of the Pregnancy Center. I've been president for quite some time, and along with other people that also serve with me are Brian Cook, who's the vice president, Tatum Marlette, who's the secretary, Kathy Aaron, treasurer, Jane Gaston, Tony Haskins, Shelley Palacios, Angie Baus, Danny Alexander, but Belva Mabra is our director, and Susanna Burns is now her assistant director. And we also have Guadalupe de Laura, and I'm not sure if I said that right, but we're very fortunate to have all of these board members, and we all work really well together to keep Pregnancy Center out there in front of everybody. I don't normally do this, I'm just going to say. I'm usually the behind the scenes as well. Whatever they need, I will help do. We usually have other speakers that will speak, but I said I would love to come speak with you all, and thank your church very much for always supporting the Pregnancy Center and what we do. Anyways, a few key points that I was given to share. So we opened in October of 1993. A core group of individuals believed there was a need for a formed and steering committee to investigate what we could do to help. Our group is a local nonprofit, not a political activist group. We are supported by donations from individuals, churches, and civic groups, and a couple of fundraisers, concerts. Hopefully some of you have been able to attend some of our amazing concerts that have helped keep the Pregnancy Center going, and a golf tournament that we do every year as well. We believe that it is important for individuals to have all the correct information they can find before making a decision about ending the life of an unborn baby. So we have dedicated ourselves to providing that information, free of charge, with full confidentiality. This information may include facts on single parenting, adoption, and abortion. The services we offer are pregnancy tests are done by appointment and walk-ins, and it takes about 30 to 45 minutes because we also see what they need as far as like counseling options and other things that need to be done for medical coverage and everything else along those lines. We also offer prenatal parenting classes. It's called Earn While You Learn. These are also free, offer valuable information, and allow the client to earn items needed throughout pregnancy and early childbearing. They are individual classes, not groups, and they can be personalized for each client's particular needs and how far advanced the pregnancy is. Years ago, we determined that convincing a young woman to carry an unplanned pregnancy without offering help is not enough. These classes continue until the child is 3 years old. A client may go through the classes twice. They can also be done in order to satisfy court ordering parenting classes. And I'd like to pause here for a moment and say, we never know who may need help in that moment or situation. They could be someone you know who might just be afraid of the situation that they're in. There's no age requirements, and by this I mean when help is needed, there's no discrimination on how old you are. We've actually seen clients and that are older, and it's not just limited to teenagers and maybe some situation they find themselves in. It's a broad spectrum of women that we help. Anyways, so that brings us to how can you help? We have volunteers. We love volunteers, actually, for everything, like everybody. Volunteers can do counseling, but you are trained to be a counselor, so you would just have to, come in and if that's your desire, then we would visit with you about how to be helpful in that situation. We have high school students who also volunteer for National Honor Society that help with that. We have baby clothes that we receive as donations that need laundered and sorted. We sort them by size to make it easier for the parents to shop the store to find what they need for their children, as well as keeping the yard. We have a yard and facility clean and repair and things like that. And we train them for, also volunteers to train for testing in the parenting classes as well. We also have different items that we need. I'm going to flip over here to this. Also, I have some of these available if anybody would like any of these. Cribs, mattresses, bassinets, car seats, anything that you might have that you could donate. Diapers, we need diapers a lot. Formula, usually a lot of that too. Wipes, bath products, bottles, nipples, of any type, baby clothes, and we take up to size 2T on that, and any other items that you think for babies that would be needed. We would love any of that. We also have, I guess that brings us to pretty much where we're at now. So as we've grown and gotten involved in a lot of different things, we have received a kind of a blessing from God, obviously, but the First Presbyterian Church is actually where the Wood Pregnancy Center will be moving to. We are under a little bit of renovation, so if anybody, we'd like volunteers for that as well, because we are renovating mostly the education building for us to be able to expand our services that we offer to women in our area, and we're hoping to provide ultrasounds is one of our goals. We're working currently with a local person who can help with that, and some limited medical services. So we are really excited about all of that, and obviously we would love volunteers that might know a little bit about renovation. But we're so excited about that, and it was just such a God blessing that we received that building, because we were really needing to grow in order to expand the services that we offered. And but yeah, so that's pretty much everything that we are doing right now. So if you need any other information, please, I'm staying, so I'll be here. And I have brochures. They're kind of outdated, but it has the basic information in it. So anyways, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Sheila. As Sheila mentioned, our church has been contributing to them for at least a few years. I believe that for the last few years we've given them $3,000 each year, along with 2 other local nonprofits. And we have, I believe, through the United Methodist Church, we used to support Circle of Care, but we haven't since we left them. Also, the organization that Kyle is representing, we've never financially supported them, although to my knowledge, the Methodist men and maybe some others of you have supported them privately. And so just a couple of numbers. We, by the Global Methodist Church, are asked or required to contribute in our area in the Heartland Annual Conference a total of 4% of last year's income to the Global Methodist Church for the various ministries that they've agreed we need to be a part of. 4% is a very low number. By comparison, when we are in the United Methodist Church, our apportionments were normally, I think I was told, somewhere around like 12% or more, which is quite a bit. I do think this opens up a large space for our church to be more generous with the missions and ministries that we personally are invested in. And I think we as a church can grow in our generosity. I'm already so proud of the ways in which we are generous, and I think there's room for us to even be more generous in contributing, especially to some of the ministries that you all are involved in. If I were to ask everybody in this room who's involved in some sort of civic organization or nonprofit organization, I think we would be very proud to see quite a few people in this room stand. And we have amazing opportunities in front of us to contribute. So if you think about it, I think our income last year was somewhere around $520,000. And if you took, for instance, a tithe of that, 10% of that, and you invested it not only in the Global Methodist Church for 4%, but 6% beyond that, that would be a sizable investment in the ministries that other Christians are doing in specialized ways beyond our walls. And so I really think that it's an exciting time in our church life where we have that freedom, and there are so many amazing organizations for us to consider partnering with to do that. So I'll invite Kyle to come up and tell us about Field of Hope.
So as Daniel said, I'm on the board of directors for Field of Hope, and we are a Christian nonprofit focused on agricultural development in Uganda. And we were started about 15 years ago by a couple of John Deere employees, one of whom had been on a year-long mission trip and spent a month in Uganda and saw the potential for that country. The climate is very ripe for agriculture. They're right on the equator, but the country, especially the northern part of the country where our office is located, was devastated by a 20-year civil war, basically from the mid-'80s to the early 2000s. There was an individual named Joseph Kony who thought he was kind of a messiah figure and came and kind of took over that part of the country for a while. Well, and that's ended now, but that portion of the country, the male population was devastated or decimated. And so they saw a lot of growth and potential there. And the main areas of focus that we have are agricultural education and what we call smallholder farmer development. And when I say smallholder farmer, I mean people that are farming like an acre plot behind their house. There's, to my knowledge, not really any commercial agriculture to speak of. And so these two areas in agricultural education, we have partnered with a company in the U.S., Vivaic, to develop a curriculum, an agricultural education curriculum for the schools in Uganda. And to my knowledge, we are the only agricultural curriculum. And we work with the teachers to train them on how to use this curriculum. And we also provide grants to the schools, about 4 or 5 a year, to have the schools start projects, whether they be poultry projects, there's some rabbit production projects, there's even a fish aquaculture project. And the purpose of that is to get them working, and we give them the money to get it started, and then they take it from there, and it helps them to realize that they can make a living from agriculture. There is a large stigma against farming in that country. Farmers are looked down upon as uneducated, but it's a way for people to make money and help to grow themselves up out of poverty. We have just started this year what are called agricultural clubs. It is basically like FFA, and we're working with the teachers to implement that in schools. And so yeah, we follow up with these teachers. We try to do school visits each year to see how they are implementing the curriculum, how their projects are going. And the other area of our focus would be the farmer development. And that would be going in and basically doing extension work. There's not really any extension work to speak of in Uganda. And we have trainings on how to use proper techniques, give them access to seed, and we also help them set up village savings and loans, or what we call them. There's no credit. Like you can't go to FSA there and get a beginning farmer loan. Like there's not the lenders in Kampala, the capital, they don't see any value in lending to farmers, and so we help them get started. And again, we help them get started. We give them advice, but like it's on them to put it into effect. Some other areas that we've worked on with farmers is, so we try to help them to diversify into livestock. These people are like planting just plots behind their house, vegetables, whatever it is that they get to grow. Well, if you have a dry season and that doesn't work out, what are you going to do? Like, how are you going to make money? So we have started a couple of pig projects in different villages. Again, we partner with another organization to give the money to get it going, but then we let them take ownership of it. And this past year, we've gotten into water well drilling. We drilled our first water well last year. We plan to drill 2 in 2026. And the importance of water there, that there's not a lot of access to clean water. And these people have to walk, 4 miles a day on average to get water just to use for their house or for their plots. And so we're helping to provide them access to that. And these people live in very hard situations. But there's a lot of joy from these people, and there's a lot of faith. Their faith in people in Uganda, I would say undoubtedly is much stronger than the faith that we have here. These people rely on God every day for whatever it is that they have. And when they pray, like they expect God to do things. And so I think that, it's something that we can learn from these people. And I guess one of the things I want to point out is, this is a Ugandan organization. We do have an executive director here in the U.S., but we have 4 full-time employees and 1 part-time employee who's working part-time to go back and get his master's degree. So basically 4.5 employees based in Uganda, and they're doing all this work across the country. And so we're a small organization with an outsized influence. And just to kind of take it in perspective, Uganda is about the size of the state of Oregon. And there's about 50 million people in that country, 40 million outside of, in the rural areas. So there's a large area that we can impact. And we do all of this on a smaller budget than what this church has every year. I looked at what the figures that Daniel sent out in his newsletter last week. Our 2025 budget was 70% of what this church's budget is. And so, resources are our only limiting factor in going out and doing more. And I guess I would be remiss I wouldn't be doing my job as a board member if I didn't say that, we always welcome donations. I would be happy to talk to any of you about Field of Hope. Our website is fieldofhope.org. We just launched our end-of-year campaign called The Next Harvest, and there's a website for that. Is fohnextharvest.squarespace.com, and you can go on there and help pay or purchase items to help with some of our projects. But I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen, and I'd be happy to visit with any of you about this organization. So,
Thank you, Kyle. So I am very proud to be a part of this church. This is an incredibly giving, caring church. In fact, my wife and I have been on the receiving end a lot lately. There was one day last week where we received 3 meals from 3 different people in one day, partially due to some confusion around when they were planning to bring them, but it was awesome. And we really didn't think we were going to need all the food this much, but it's been a huge blessing as we're getting used to a newborn in the house. And I know that we are just one of many families that have experienced the strong support of this church family. You all are awesome at giving. And so I bring these before you, and we will in the future bring other organizations. I've talked to Ryan Hayes. He works with Western Plains Youth and Family Services. And like I said, there are other organizations that this church consider partnering with as we seek to be a church that, look, our mission is to make disciples, but disciples have always understood that mission to include seeking the good of the cities that we dwell in, seeking the good of the nations that we are a part of, seeking the good of the stranger and the widow and everybody that we can. We are people who want to show God's kingdom arriving here on earth and being a part of his hands and feet. And so I'm excited that we have resources to spare. I'm excited that we have such generous hearts to share it. And I hope, I know this isn't a sermon that's like, look, let's be fair. A lot of my sermons challenge more than they're like a motivational speech anyway. So maybe this was more motivational than many of my sermons. But this church is in a prime position to do amazing work for the kingdom of God. And I'm excited to get to be a part of doing that with you. Trying to make sure I don't forget anything. If you feel like your organization was passed by, it was not intentional, come and talk to me, and we'll see about doing a mission moment in the future.